Good morning. This is Marcus here at Amana Senior Care. Thank you so much for joining us today to chat a little bit with Patrick Murphy. We're excited that he was able to make the time to get on the phone with us. So some of you have just heard about Amada just now. So one thing I want to do real briefly is just tell you a little bit more. There's Patrick there with his billion dollar smile. You guys are going to love talking to him. He's a good man. You know, Patrick is the kind of guy that you love immediately. What's great about this business is it's so much about relationship. And even though Patrick did not have a medical device or pharmaceutical background, a lot of you are on the line and you have that background. What's great about having Patrick on is it really is about relationships. It's about being able to go and build those relationships of trust with your referral sources. And Patrick will talk a little bit more about that. But he's just that kind of a guy. And in fact, one of his best friends actually became one of our franchisees out in the East Coast in Boston, Paul. And Paul talks about that. He talks about meeting Patrick and actually not liking him at first, right, Patrick? He didn't like you very much when he first met you.
Well, you know, to be truthful, Marcos, not everybody loves me. It's one of those 50-50 things with me. I don't know why, but when you meet me, 50% of the people love me, and then 50% of the people really they don't like me. It's kind of funny. So it's one of those deals.
50% of the time, it works every time, though, right? Eventually, they come to love you.
Yes, and then I have haters out there that I have to eat humble pie and try to get them to become lovers of Patrick Murphy. So it works some of the time. So
yeah, it works some of the time, but most of the time, I think it works pretty well. Now, so what we're going to do is before we get into having Patrick talk more about his experience, because some of you are very new, I want to just give you a base about Amada Senior Care. Take me just a few minutes, and Patrick, you can chime in whenever you want. So there's two businesses that we really perfected since 2007 when we started the business, and one of them is home care, and it's basically sending caregivers to seniors' homes to take care of activities of daily living. This is dressing, bathing, walking, grooming, and toileting. However, for our clients, it really is a caregiver that's going to come to the home and take care of whatever it is that senior needs. That's one of the businesses that we do. The other business is helping people find an assisted living, a boarding care, an Alzheimer's care unit, whatever community or home is going to be great for that senior. And a lot of you that are going through our discovery process, you have heard about our differentiation strategy, where we talk about the fact that this industry has kind of been seen as the cash pay industry for decades. We came in 2007 and said, yeah, it is a cash pay industry, but there's these other payers, the Veterans Administration, workers' comp, and long-term care insurance that have billions of dollars out there that we want to be able to go and take to be able to provide the best care possible for our families. So in a way, one way to look at it is almost like we are the PPO or the HMO of home care, which didn't exist before we came on the scene. And as you go through discovery, you're going to hear a lot more about our differentiation strategy. But I think right now, just knowing that we are a home care company, we also do what we call placements, is probably a great place to start. So now what I want to do is introduce you guys to Patrick. So Patrick, I gave him a little bit about your background, that you started at Merrill Lynch, stockbroker for many years, and you went on your own. And so will you talk a little bit about what led you to finding Amada, what was going on in your life at that point, and we'll go from there.
Great. So I'll never forget, it was like 2 or 3 years ago, I was sitting at the annual conference of my broker-dealer at the time. I was at Merrill Lynch for 12 years. I started off when I was 22, 23 as a Merrill Lynch financial advisor. That went very, very well. I was at Merrill Lynch for 12 years, and then I decided to move from Connecticut, the East Coast, to Newport Beach, California. And
by the way, why I don't remember what you told me about that. Why did you move to Newport? What took you there? Was it what was it?
Well, so I was in Connecticut at the time. I was still in my young 30s, and I was visiting my brother. He had married a woman from Orange County, and
that's right.
My brother and I are best friends, and I saw, I got off the plane in Orange County, and I saw palm trees And I remember saying to myself, people actually live like this? I mean, it was amazing. So I just couldn't believe it. I fell in love with California, and I said to myself, I am moving to Southern California. I want that lifestyle. So that's what got me to move.
That's what it was, okay.
In the process, though, of moving, I'm sure pretty much everybody on this call has seen the movie Jerry Maguire. The brokerage industry is very similar to that movie in terms of all the fellow sports agents in Jerry Maguire. It's very similar in the brokerage industry where your fellow brokers are your friend, but as soon as you turn the corner, you're trying to pull the knife out of your back because everybody wants your clients, everybody wants your book, and managers were paid on brokers being at that office and assets under management. So me leaving from Connecticut to Newport Beach, California was going to be a huge hit for her because she's losing all those assets and a broker.
Right.
She sent out a letter to all my clients saying that Patrick Murphy was basically leaving the business. So when I got to California, I literally had to start all over again.
Wow.
It was horrible. So I did my own business as a financial advisor. Then I built that up, and basically what got me into this business was I was watching my mom. I'm one of 6 kids. Everybody does pretty good in my family, and my mom, she started having signs of memory problems. We had her diagnosed. She had Alzheimer's, and my sister Mary Ellen stepped up and said, there's no way we're going to put my mom in an assisted living home because we just don't want her to live like that. So she took her in. Because my sister Mary Ellen was being a caregiver for my mom, she put on a lot of weight, and she became clinically depressed. So the Murphy circled the wagons, and then that's really what got me into this business. I wanted to follow my passion. I love seniors, and that's what got me into this.
That's awesome. And when you were looking at, because a lot of the folks on the call right now are maybe in a similar point, that's either financially they're looking at the possibility of this industry, or they've had that personal experience. But then remind us, how did you find Amada, and how was that discovery process, and how did it lead to eventually becoming a franchisee?
So what had happened, I was actually on a conference call with one of my clients, and he was a great guy. We're going through his portfolio, and I was actually discussing with him putting one of the REITs that we had available, because he was looking to spread out and diversify his asset base. And the real estate investment trust market was a really good market at the time, and this one particular REIT was loaded with independent living facilities, assisted living facilities, and memory care. And this REIT was killing it. And I remember, in the brokerage industry and the software industry, to really get big and get momentum, you need clients, right? You need clients with a lot of money.
Right.
In the software industry, you need to sell big enterprise software deals. I think where we are in the economic cycle in America right now, well, globally, we'll say globally, if you go from Merrill Lynch to UBS or UBS to an independent financial advisor, is it really that much of a difference? Is that financial advisor who's out there trying to kill it and bring on a lot of clients, is he going to really show anybody something that much different than what someone else's financial advisor is already doing? No. My brother is in an industry. My brother is the Michael Jordan of software sales. And he explained to me that software is very similar to the brokerage industry in the sense that there's really no disruptive software in the marketplace right now where you could sign up, go and be a sales rep or a sales manager and just kick butt. Do you remember when Salesforce.com came out with their product? Yeah. Everybody had to have it, right? Everybody was jumping on that bandwagon. Or when Michael Dell launched Dell, when Bill Gates launched Microsoft. So we don't really have, you know, quantum growth in a lot of these industries. So I was kind of looking at it from that perspective. And then from a broker, I'm just like, I was developing a twitch in my left eye from the stress because, you know, many people here on the call here, I'm sure, have either read or watched the movie The Big Short. And if you recall, the crazy hedge fund manager for Morgan Stanley, or Morgan Stanley owned his hedge fund.
Yeah.
He just couldn't manage the markets because of what the Federal Reserve was doing, you know, liar loans and all the stuff. I actually followed up with him after the book and after the movie. He actually exited the industry in 2012 because it's so difficult to manage the money or manage client assets because you got to go basically on what the Federal Reserve said. I mean, all your quantitative and analytical programs really don't matter anymore. So that was pushing it. What was your question? I don't know if I answered the question. What was your question?
It was really, you talked about what pushed you, but also then what was it like going through the discovery process with Amada, and what led from, okay, I do want to get out of financial advising, and I do want to get into senior care, but really, why Amada? What was it that led from meeting us to then becoming?
Oh, I know why. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. I know now why I went off on the tangent. So
yes,
I was asking my brother, like, should I get into software? And he was explaining it to me, and I'm like, that's just trading a job for hours. Most software reps are going to make 100 to 250, 300 if you're kicking ass. There's really not a lot of guys making $500,000 or $1 million. So I was like, well, I don't want to do that. Like, if you look at the IBM model, they want everybody making $100,000 a year and huge quotas. I didn't want to do that, so that was out. So I was looking at this REIT, and I'm like, I got to start looking at this. Where is the money going? Sorry if I sound like a money guy or a hedge fund guy, but that's just, I've been doing it for 20 years. So I was like, where's the money going? Where's the ball going? Wayne Gretzky was asked, how come you are so successful? He said, most guys go where the puck was. I go where the puck's going to be. So I'm like, where is this puck going? And I said to myself, booyah, it's got to be senior care. I love seeing, so now I sound like I'm just doing it for the money. I'm not. I truly love what I do. I don't consider what I do now work. I love getting up. This business is extremely competitive. It brings out my competitive nature from my brokerage and financial or wealth management days. And this is a very competitive business. I will tell you right now, anybody on this call, if you think that this is not a competitive industry and you think you're going to come in and, you know, not going to roll with it, this is not the industry for you, because this is very competitive. You got to be on your game. You got to think quick, and you got to move. But to answer your question right off the bat, I chose Amada Senior Care because of Chad and because of Tafa. I was looking at First Light, Visiting Angels, Home Instead. I was looking at all of those different platforms. And the one thing that I saw was the IBM model. Let's pretend everybody on the call, we're on the board, the board of directors at Visiting Angels and all these other ones. What do we want to do? We want to sell franchises, right? At $50,000 a pop. Let's cut these territories up and just sell $50,000 a pop so we can make a lot of money, have all these people running around like jackasses, and you know, the operator is not going to make a lot of money because his territory is not going to be big enough. So that's what you're going to attract. So what really attracted me to Chad and Tafa, their business model was different. They actually built a $10 million company. You will not go into any of these other franchises and these guys have built a $10 million company. Not going to happen. Chad and Tafa did it, so I was very impressed with that. So the only way you're going to learn how to do that is from people who've done it. So that's why I looked at it. Their technology was head and shoulders above the competition, the training, but it was really it was a culmination of a lot of different things, but it all kind of added up because I was going with First Light. Do you remember that, Marcos?
I do, yeah.
First Light had a board. I mean, it looked like the dream team, right? The Olympics for the basketball team. I mean, they had everybody on that board of directors. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But I ultimately went with Amada.
Yeah, and I remember when you made that decision, we Chattatoff had built Newport Beach, so it wasn't an available territory. And so you want to tell the story about the fact that you ended up going to Austin, and in fact, I talk about you a lot with prospects because Austin on paper is not like a Newport Beach. I remember, and you know the numbers better, but I think the average, it's like 8% or 9% of the population is over the age of 65 in Austin, right? It's very low.
So, I mean, my kind of, I'm a big researcher, but sometimes I could be the kind of guy that shoots first, aims later kind of thing, ready, fire, aim.
Right.
I just knew I wanted to do this, and so I started looking around the country, and my brother and I are best friends. He's my Irish twin, so we kind of did everything together. And I was actually trying to get him into this, but he couldn't do it because he was making enough money where he was at. I mean, he does very, very well. It's like for him to take a step back, it would have been too tough for him. And he's a manager and all that stuff. So, but I thought maybe at some point, and maybe it will, he and I could partner and whatever. But I was looking at Austin, Texas, and I was looking at all these things, and it just seemed like Austin would be a good match. But I wrote the check to Amada. Then I said, I better go down to Austin and kind of look at what the hell I purchased, right? I mean, this is something I should look at. So I start walking downtown. I'm 46 years old. I'm just starting to get gray now on my sideburns. And I'm looking around. I've always been the young guy, right? Like all my friends usually were older, and I was always the young kid and trying to get mentored by the older guys and that kind of thing because that's how you learn. And so so I'm going down to Austin, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, I feel like grandpa because it doesn't look old down here. And I got online. I Googled average age of Newport Beach, California is 45. The average age of Austin, Texas was 32.
Yeah.
I almost got in my closet in a fetal position and started asking myself, what did I just do?
I remember the phone call. Yeah, I remember the phone call of, dude, I think you called me from walking around University of Texas, Austin. And
I called you.
All these young people walking around.
Yeah, and I called you, I called Christina, and I called Tafa, and I'm like, dude, I might not want to do this.
That's right. So now talk about what is, and we hear that a lot from, Ken, who's our second franchisee. He's in Colorado Springs, and he has actually a very young population, a little older than yours, but so what is it that's allowed you? You were Rookie of the Year for 2016. You were our fastest growing franchisee, by the way, ever in your first 6 months. We've never had somebody grow as fast as you did. And yet you did it in Austin, Texas, which average age is 35. So how did you do that? What is the secret, or how the heck do you do that in a market like that? So
it's interesting. I think today we live in a world that is kind of run by the FDA, pharmaceutical companies, all the crap, they've got more labels on diseases than Heinz has pickles, right? You got shaky leg syndrome, we got a pill. You sneeze, you got a pill.
You've got about 20 medical device and pharmaceutical guys on the phone right now, so that's good. That's good. Good content.
Sorry, guys. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. But so I think that industry is just wrought with fraud, right? I mean, it's just horrible.
And they know, yeah, right.
Good. Well, if they didn't know, they're going to hear it anyway because I'm not going to hold back. But my point is, I don't believe in ADHD, and I don't believe in obsessive compulsive disorders and all these other things that the media wants you to believe because they want to sell you a pill where they can make 5,000% return on. So what I'm trying to say is you've got to get obsessed. If you're on this call and you want to be an entrepreneur, you've got to dig down deep and you've got to get obsessed, completely obsessed. I mean obsessed with the business because everything is energy, high-focused energy, positive energy. Every day at 7 o'clock in the morning, you got to pretend a starter is at the line, he's firing the pistol, and it's go. And I just listened to Chad, I listened to Tafa. What I needed to do, I followed with blind faith. And I spoke a lot to Robert Christensen and Ken Jensen, who are complete obsessed psychopaths when it comes to, and when I say obsessed, I mean that in a good way. That's, again, financial advisor, broker, whatever talk. But they're really obsessed about their business because they want to grow and they have a passion. They have a passion for growth, a passion for life.
You hear it in your voice. You hear we talk to Ken, you talk to Robert, you talk to Kevin Fair, you talk to these guys who are successful, and you do hear it. Like when they talk about their business, they're consumed by it, right? They're obviously consumed by their families and all the other things they're doing. But you're right. There is a certain amount of fire and passion that comes from them.
You know, I was dating this girl recently, great gal, it didn't work out, and she looked at me and she said, "Are you ever going to love me as much as this business?" And I had a hard time answering with her quickly to say yes to her. So it might have, that might have not have been a good thing for me to continue that, So,
well,
or maybe
at
it was
the end
timing.
of dinner. You didn't have to have dinner after not being able to answer that question, right? It was.
Well, I got out of dessert because that kind of closed. I'm kidding. But I'm sounding a little mercenary right now. But what I mean is maybe it wasn't the right timing, or the stars and moon didn't line up. But you got to be. What I'm saying is you got to be obsessed about this. A lot of you guys are on the call. You're making 150, 200 grand a year. Maybe calling on 5 people a day. This is not the job for you if that's what you want, because you will fail.
So talk about, and that's very true.
Sorry. Yeah.
That's very true.
I didn't want to
stop. Oh, go ahead.
I said I'm not trying to sound like a wet blanket, but I'm going to be frank with you on this call. I don't want another franchise partner, or I don't want any franchise partners on this call coming into the business and making Amada Senior Care look bad. I want all stars, so when I show up at the annual conference, I'm talking to people on a consistent basis that are all-stars, that are Michael Jordans, that have accolade after accolade after accolade, because I learn and grow from those ideas. So I say that selfishly, Marcos. Go ahead.
No, I think that's a good thing to know, that it is a tough business, right? It's not the kind of business that you can go out and market 3 days a week and expect that you're going to be able to get a return on your investment and actually build a business. I mean, when you talk about, oh, and by the way, what I'd like to tell you guys is please enter your questions on the question box or raise your hand at any time. We want to be able to hear from you. You kind of got an introduction from Patrick, where he's from, what he's doing, a little bit about the business, and we'll keep going here, but I'd love to be able to get your questions. I have the question box open here. I can see it. So you can chime in at any time, or you can raise your hand so that we can get your questions here as we're going through this. But let's do a switch now to where you talk about the referral sources. So listening to Chad and Tafa about, okay, you need to do X, Y, Z. So could you go through a typical day of what that X, Y, Z looks like? Who are you talking to? And perhaps a little bit of what that message looks like without too much of our secret sauce given away, but what does that typical day look like when you wake up on a Monday morning?
So I'll even go further in terms of crisis. So right now I'm in a crisis mode right now. So I think I'm like 8 or 9 months in the business. I'm billing around 70, 75,000 of gross a month, and we were going through a caregiver crisis about getting caregivers because we were marketing so much to get this business in the door. I ran out of caregivers. So from February and March, I really wasn't marketing, and I was focusing on getting caregivers. Now I have too many caregivers and not enough business. So now I'm like, what the, you know what? And I'm like, oh my gosh, now I'm double timing it, trying to get business in the door, beating the bushes, rattling, calling doctors, getting here, getting there, going to hospitals, getting all this stuff done. And this is the life cycle of a business, right? So
Right.
now I'm in crisis mode, and so now, because I'm trying to get to 150,000 a month as quickly as possible, right? And so now I just gummed up my tracks because I didn't calculate or forecast correctly, but this is just, you know, part of the trials and tribulations of owning a business. Oh,
Yeah.
day in the life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So now what am I doing? You have to throw yourself out there, and what I've done is I'm marketing with a lot of different types of people. I'm not going to say who, because I don't want to create a competitor for myself if someone here goes with some other company in Austin. But I'm doing a lot of joint marketing efforts. It's really paying off. I really like what I'm doing in terms of that. So I will see lift on this, I think, very, very soon.
And how many accounts are you usually trying to see on a daily basis? How many referral sources?
So I'm trying to see probably 10 referral sources. But like yesterday, I was doing joint marketing. I got in front of this neurologist, right? And that's like a honeypot, right? There's Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, you name it, this guy sees it. This guy can turn the switch on. And I was a 2-hour conversation, and I said to the doctor, would you have a serious objection to meeting with me for a coffee right before your day gets crazy, so I can tell you a little bit more in a more intimate detail of what we do? He goes, absolutely. So booyah. Scheduled a meeting with him, on the 23rd.
Was this on your first visit with him, or had you been calling on him for quite some time?
Called on him once.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I wasn't calling. No, I mean, I wasn't. I mean, if there are reps on here from pharma, I mean, you're going to know how to talk to these guys probably better than I did. I come from the wealth management space, so I approach these guys differently. I always kind of, when I go in and talk to these guys, I always try to keep it on a higher level, maybe. So I want to be a person of value, right? Time is so precious today. These guys don't have time to be wasting it with people who are just, they're just like, oh my gosh, how come I agreed to this? They're thinking to themselves, how come I agreed to this meeting with this guy? He doesn't have any value. How do I get this guy out of my office, right? You don't want to be that guy. So you got to educate yourself on what their issues are, what their problems are. I'm not from this space, so I gotta double time it on my research on this part of the business.
That's right.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, it does. That is it. It's really, when you go and meet with these referral sources, it's providing value. But do you find that your competition, are they providing value in the same way that you do, or is there a difference in the value that our differentiation strategy provides?
I can tell you, hands right now, without a doubt, confidence-wise, what I'm being told by my competitors, I'll say it again, my competitors and other people who do what we do, like home health or nurses or nurse liaisons or community educators from hospitals, they are saying Amada is hands down the best in this territory. Like, they don't know, people don't really talk about it as a franchise, they just call it Amada.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically because we're going the extra mile, right? I mean, this business brings a lot of crap to it, right? You have shysters dealing with seniors and taking advantage of them. I keep telling my office manager, who's a complete all-star, Tanya Bright, 21 years in the military, thank God I have her. I would not be where I am today without her. I keep telling her, Tanya, always do the right thing. Always do the right thing. Always do the right thing. Because so many people don't do it, we're going to shine just by doing the right thing.
That's probably a part of you, Patrick, that at first, like just as you started this conference call, you have this background of I eat glass for breakfast. But what we learned about Patrick very quickly, with such an interesting dichotomy about you, is you have this, like, I am going to utterly destroy the competition today when you wake up. But yet what we knew about you is, something so weird about you. You're like a unicorn. We knew that when it comes to the family, when it comes to the caregivers, that just like other partners, that you would always do what's right for them. That it wouldn't be about the money once you're talking to that family. That you legitimately care about them. And I know that is kind of our business proposition. And Amy from Louisiana. Actually, Amy and I and Chad were talking yesterday, and she said, I really love your culture. I love your mission. And her question was, how do you balance the mercenary with the mission? Can you talk a little bit about that? Because, by the way, I do believe that's why our businesses are so successful, is because we do balance that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, for me, it's knowing. I just had an interesting call with Ryan Hart yesterday. He's our guy in Reno, Nevada. Yeah. And I called him on Be Close to Amana because I wanted to learn how to. He was one of the guys who's testing it, and I was unsure about the product, and so I'm totally sold on it, by the way.
Cool.
So I learned from him. So he's $25 an hour, and he doesn't bend. I bend. I'm like a candy ass. I bend on my price sometimes just to get the deal. So yeah. I'm not bending anymore. Marcos, I'm not bending anymore, by the way. So so I think it's all about just, first of all, it's vetting the caregivers and getting the right caregivers. It's providing additional training, letting the caregivers, your caregivers are watching you every day, what you say, how you act. Your clients you're being watched all the time. Whether you think you are or not, you're not fooling anybody. You're being watched all the time. Everybody knows your business. You got reviews online. You got Facebook reviews, all this stuff. You got to be lily white. You have to be lily white because it may not show up today, but it's definitely going to show up tomorrow or the next. That if you're doing something wrong, you're going to get whacked.
That's right. That's right. And I think the families know your intent, right? When you meet with them, if your intent is to take their money and you're going to provide a crummy care, they'll either notice it now or eventually they're going to notice it.
So right now, Marcos, right now in my marketplace, there are people going down to like $15, $18, $19, $20 an hour, and I just say that's great. That's great. If you want a toothless caregiver making minimum wage who smells like smoke standing over your mom, I think that's great. Here's my card. Call me when it doesn't work out. I'll be happy to help you. I mean, I don't say it that curt, but that's kind of the message.
Because there is a lot of that out there, and you'll find out with the competition what they're doing is they're race to the bottom. You're charging 17, I'll charge 16. Now you're charging 16, I'll charge 15. And the race to the bottom is not what we are. We really are the Nordstroms of care. Hey, you said something, Patrick, that I thought was interesting. There's a question here. Several of folks actually tapped into it once you talked about your office manager. So a lot of folks on a call. Well, actually, there's different people. Some of the folks on the call are going to be your superstar salesperson who's been selling for a very long time, relationship builder, and who probably is going to need help administratively. There are other folks on the call who already have an operation. But can you talk about when you started, how soon did you hire your office manager, and somewhat of how you compensate them, and what your next steps are in your back office staff?
Okay, I think there's two ways to start this business. I'll first talk about mine, and I'll talk about the other model. Actually, Ryan is the exact opposite of me. So my model was I knew what I was good at. I knew that I could outwork anybody, right? I'm 46, I'm young, I work out, I got energy. I knew all I had to do, half the battle is showing up, right? What I mean by showing up, getting in your car, truck, whatever, and hitting those referral sources, minimally 10 a day, smile, be kind, be nice, and the business will come. I was actually, Tafa vehemently disagreed with me of hiring an office manager. He said I was going to blow through my war chest, I was going to be out of money, and you're going to regret the decision of hiring an office manager so quickly. Because that's not how he did it. Tafa did it differently, right? That's why that's why God made vanilla and chocolate, because people like and do different things, right?
That's right.
So
yeah.
I just knew what I was good at. So I hired Tanya late July, and I didn't start marketing. So I took my time. I wanted someone military because I think most people, it's very difficult to get good people to work for you. It's very hard to get people you could trust. I knew I could trust her immediately. And so It took me like 3 seconds to decide if I wanted to, right, like go by your gut. It took me 3 seconds to decide in my mind, yes, she's the one. And so that's when I started marketing, when I knew I had air support. Actually, she was from the Air Force, so I had air support. So I had that, and I knew that everything I threw over my shoulder when I was in the field, she was going to be able to take care of it.
Right.
Booyah, she did it, and it worked out very, very well. The other model is you might not be, Mr. Congeniality, go get 'em, not a salesy guy, but you might be good with the numbers. You might be good at managing an office. You might be more like a Tony Yoder type who likes to sit back, is very methodical. Remember, I'm fire, aim, and then keep going. Where you're going to go hire a salesperson at $40,000 and a whatever bonus, and she's going to bring it in for you. So there's two different ways to do it. I would not be where I am today. I would not be, unequivocally, I would not be where I am today. And oh, by the way, every day I still feel like I'm failing. I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for Tiny.
Yeah. Yeah, that support I think is so important, and that's what's interesting about our training. What you'll get from us is an opinionated coach, right? Somebody who's going to tell you, hey, here's what I think. But along with that, so Tafa will tell you, here's what I think you should do. But then we have other coaches that you're working with who will say, you know what, I think you should do it this way. And we kind of show you the different models, because what we believe is Patrick talked about this earlier. We're not looking for the sheep who's just going to say, show me everything to do. We really are looking for leaders, people who are able to make great decisions. That's why we do larger territories. That's why we find guys like Patrick, is we're going to give you a roadmap that's going to have different options, and you're going to be able to pick what works for you. Patrick was just mentioning how his business is totally different from Ryan Hart, which is totally different from Ken Jensen's, totally different from Tony Yoder's. You guys will be able to build a business how you see fit. We will give you the roadmap to it, but there's a lot of your own decision making. Would you agree with that, Patrick?
Yeah, I would say that the only part that I disagree with, if you look at my personality and Ken's personality, they're very, very similar, at least in my opinion. It was so funny. Ken was calling me. I was crying to him about the business and what to do. This is I'm just like, And Ken asked me, he goes, and this is like 4 months ago, he goes, Patrick, do you know what you're billing a month? Do you know what, and he's going over my numbers, and I was like, oh my God. Ken, I'm so embarrassed. I don't know any of the answers to these questions. Ken starts laughing. He goes, if you were to ask me these questions, I wouldn't know either. And we both were laughing hysterically on the phone. Because, you watch Shark Tank, you watch Marcus Lemonis, The Prophet on CNBC, and they talk about knowing your numbers. And here I am as a wealth manager, financial advisor, whatever you want to say, and I didn't know my numbers. I was just like, my whole thing was just keep working like a psycho, and I was going to be fine. I wouldn't recommend doing that, by the way, but that's how I did it.
Yeah. And do you find that it is important to dive into those numbers, or is it trusting Tanya? How are you doing it now?
I'm just now diving into the numbers, because now I'm starting to realize that this is getting very big, and I could see my growth growing geometrically. I want to be at 150,000 a month by October. Helping more people, developing better relationships, and so to do that, I reached out to Jeff Putnam. He's helping. Jeff's our CFO of Amada. I reached out to him because I said, Jeff, I need your help on this because I got to get a handle of this beast. So, I took his counsel on benefits and stuff like that. Like, one of the things going forward we're going to be doing at Amada Senior Care Austin is we're going to be giving benefits to all my employees. 99% of my competitors are not doing it. They're not getting benefits. My caregivers are going to have vision, dental, Section 125, health savings accounts, 401k, and full-blown medical if they want it. So I believe you got to keep follow what Warren Buffett said, right? you got to invest in yourself. And if you don't find a business, if you do not find a business or find a way to make money while you're sleeping, you're going to be poor. And making 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, traveling first class once in a while, driving a Range Rover, that's not wealthy. That's take my paycheck and spend it. I don't want to be that guy. I want to be wealthy.
Right. Right. Hey, I love it. So here's a couple more questions here, and let's see. Let me take a look at the time. We're at 47. So guys, we only have another 5-6 minutes because we want to be able to end at the top of the hour. So please enter your questions. I have a lot of questions here that I've been trying to get to. So I'll be patient. Let me see. We talked a little bit about your day. Talk about the caregiver. So this ebb and flow. There's a question here about how are you shoring up your caregiver shortage, and what do you usually look for in the caregivers that you hire?
So I just want to back up one. Yes, I'll answer in a second. So when I mean wealthy, I wanted to say that the only way to become wealthy, I believe, in America is by owning a business. And at some point, you're going to sell it. And so by helping a tremendous amount of people in the senior care business, that's how you're going to get wealthy. Going the extra mile and doing what most people won't do, that is the way to get wealthy in America. That is my opinion. So what are we doing to get caregivers? Was that your question, Marco?
So how do you shore up the caregiver shortage that you're having now, and what do you usually look in the caregivers that you hire? It's sort of a conversation of, people usually ask, okay, I know nothing about hiring caregivers. You're going to need an army of caregivers. How do you do it? Will Amada show me how to do that? So talk a little bit about, you're in that shortage now, so you're in the middle of it.
So right now there's 330 million people in the United States of America, roughly, depending what census you look at. Between now and 2020, AARP tells us, with their forecasting, that there will be 117 million seniors that need help from a caregiver. To service that demand, there are going to be approximately 50 million caregivers available. So right there, off the bat, it tells you that there's a tremendous opportunity. The problem is that there's not enough caregivers in the United States of America to service the need. So what we have to do, we have to be that shiny company on the hill that attracts quality caregivers to our company so we can dominate the market. I told people when I was leaving Newport Beach, California, I'm not going to Austin to participate in senior care. I'm coming here to dominate it. And I believe the way you dominate in any industry is first take care of your employees. So I'm all about, it's very simple, right? You see a caregiver at one of your facilities, and, they're from a lower economic, they're from a lower socioeconomic status than
right.
Some of the, right? Okay. So how do you treat that person? I treat these people with respect. I go over and hug them. I tell them they're doing a great job. I know my competitors aren't. It's very easy to have a crappy day, and you see the caregiver, and she's going to come over and just unload on how bad her day is, and you'd be like, oh my God, I just got to get out of here. Da, 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 da. Does she understand what I'm dealing with? Right? It's stuff like that. I try to do the right thing. You just try to. You try to be a pro. You try to be caring. And then also you got to, reach into your pocket. Like I did if one of my caregivers, her mom died. I told Tanya, I said, give that caregiver the week off, full pay. It's obviously killing her. I said, pay her, give her the time off. That's I was amazing. Told I didn't know that people didn't do that. I just did it. And I was told later, nobody does that, Patrick, in this industry. I did it. Another girl was looking sickly at another one of my facilities. I called Tanya. I said, Tanya, give that girl 3 days off. Hey. And I think that's the kind of, I don't know, I just think it's treating people right,
It's interesting because it sounds like for most of you on the phone, it probably sounds like, well, yeah, that's what you do. But it is sort of a phenomenon in our industry. We've been doing this for a very long time. Tafa, Chad, for 20 years. They talk about, they all the time see competitors where in their minds, they're treating their caregivers just fine. But there's another level that we go to, and it permeates throughout all of our franchise partners. It's very easy for our competitors to take somebody who's making 9, 10, 11, 12 bucks an hour and treat them poorly. It just comes with the territory of that employer-employee relationship. And it's really unfortunate. And it's amazing that there was the Association for Caregiving, they said they did a poll of hundreds, I think thousands of caregivers, and it said, what do you value most in your job? And it was pay, time off, respect, all these things. Number one was respect. It wasn't pay. It was respect. It's the most, most important thing to those caregivers. So Patrick, that's really cool that you did those things. I didn't know that. And that's amazing. Okay, so let me see here. Patrick, it's a question about net profit and stuff like that. It's something that you'll be able to reach out to Patrick and talk to him about his net profit. It's not something I can really ask you, Patrick, about. You're billing 75. How are you paying yourself? How are you paying your office manager? But I don't know. Can you share a little bit about the finance of the business? Maybe your expenses or something like that as you get to that 75,000 in billing per month.
So what I pay my office manager, I'm not gonna disclose. So FYI, I sold my wealth management business, so that gave me a war chest of money to do this business. So I'm just starting to rip into the numbers right now with Jeff Putnam in terms of profit. We are obviously making money, good money. I'm very pleased with, how is it going. So, I mean, if you're looking at me right now, if you're in my truck right now, I need a crowbar to get the smile off my face. It's going well.
Good. Another question here about, actually I'm getting a lot of caregiver questions. So the other one is, Malik, the franchise fee for Amada is $48,000. That's the franchise fee. But are the caregivers certified when you hire them? Like, are you hiring a certified nurse's aide? Or are you hiring folks that don't have a caregiving experience? Can you talk a little bit about that?
We hire, depending where you are in the country, they're either called certified nursing assistants or certified nursing aides, the CNA. We hire those. I found that some of my people who've been caregiving for 10, 15, 20 years are better than the nurses, than the certified nursing aides who went out and got, it all depends on a person.
Yeah.
So I hire both.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, Malik, there you go. So we're coming on 10:55. So Patrick, if you could you just give these folks two things? One is, what is your advice for somebody who's looking at starting an Amada senior care business, getting into senior care? What is maybe the advice you wish you had when you first started? That maybe you got the good advice, but that's number one. And then number two, talk about aside from the financial side, the payback that you feel when I hear a lot from franchisees, I was able to help this gentleman, or I don't know if you have a story of somebody you've helped or something that just made you go, man, I can't believe I get to do this. So, sorry, it's a two-part question. What's the advice you give to somebody who's looking at the business right now, they think it's good advice for them? And two, a story or something about somebody you helped that you're just like, I cannot believe I get to do this.
So for whatever reason, I always had an affinity towards seniors. Marcos, can you hear me or no?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, no, because I was filling up my truck out as you were asking.
so I always loved seniors. I think they are precious. If you look at other culture, if you look at, I think it's most of the world actually, seniors are looked upon as elegant, as amazing, as a big social status, right? It's only in America where seniors are treated poorly. If you look at most other countries, a lot of countries will have extended families where the seniors live inside the home because,
Right.
the old saying, it takes a village to raise a child, or, these people have so much knowledge. And it's so easy, and because my day's so busy sometimes, it's so easy to say to yourself, oh my God, I got this meeting, I got that meeting. But I always remind myself to give this person respect, talk to them. But I've always liked seniors, I think, because maybe because I'm one of 6 kids, and everybody was older than me, so I was always around older people. I don't know. That's why it was kind of weird when I first came to Austin, and I was like the oldest guy in Austin. It felt like. But that's what made it. I've always, some people think I'm funny, and I've always was funny with seniors, right? I always kind of know, where to push it with humor. I always try to brighten up their day. It's just fun. Did that answer your question, or some of it, or no?
Yeah, I did. Now, can you talk about a piece of advice you'd give to somebody who's looking at a modest senior care and trying to make a decision if this is the right business for them and for their families?
You have to be willing to work your fanny off. Don't come into this business thinking it's going to be an 8-hour day. It will not be. I think you need to have, and I would check with your wives, I'd check with your husbands, and the grass is greener where you water it. And so if you want this business to grow and be, booyah, you have to be in it. You have to be in it to win it. And it's going to be, I'm saying to myself, I'm 8-9 months into this business. I keep telling myself, just keep pressing on no matter what. And, that might be for some people, like maybe, you stop drinking Sunday through Thursday. So I don't drink anymore on Sunday to Thursday nights because I'm 46 now, and for whatever reason, 2 glasses of wine now, I'm not 100% the next day. So I don't do that anymore. It might be little things like that, right? And my name is Patrick Murphy, and I love a good glass of wine. So you got to make, sacrifices in this business, in my opinion. So my advice is really do a check of yourself under the hood, because you got to know yourself, right? Machiavelli, know yourself, and so and be willing to work. You got to be able to work hard.
Got it. Okay.
Well, hey, Marcos. The last thing on that, the big joke in my office is, nobody eats lunch in our office staff because we're working so much. Tanya's lost like 20 pounds since she came to work for Amada. We don't eat lunch. It's like, you eat lunch, you're a candy ass. Go ahead, next question.
Actually, that's all the time we have. We're at 11 o'clock, and I want to make sure that we're respectful of your time. I know you're busy. You're in your car right now, and I know these folks out there, you guys have busy days. So, Patrick, thank you so much, man, for doing this call with us and talking to these folks. You're on the franchise disclosure document. Is it okay if some of these folks, as they're getting near to making a decision, would they be able to reach out to you?
Yes, I'll take any of their any of their phone calls. Yes.
Thank you, Patrick. I really appreciate that. All right. Hey, thank you so much. And for everybody on the call, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope this was informative and helpful to you to be able to get closer to the decision of is this the right business for you or not. Please make sure to get a hold of Tim and schedule your next steps of discovery. Patrick, thank you so much.
And Marcos, remember, coffee is for closers. I'm just kidding. I thought that'd be funny.
That's a good way to end it.
Thank you, sir. Talk to you later.
Thank you, Patrick. Talk to you guys later. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.